Okay, joining me now is a guy who has faced the worst, most extreme form of censorship, jail, for trying to expose the dangers of the Islamification of the UK. Now, you can't find this guy anywhere on social media anymore. Try Googling him. See all the wonderful things the international left and the media has to say about him. Joining us for the first time, Tommy Robinson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be seen.
Well, let me start with a little bit of sarcasm here. With all the people that are trying to claim asylum at our southern border, why should the United States and President Trump offer you asylum?
Genuinely, I started my activism 10 years ago. I talk about the problems and the dangers that come from open border policy. We have imported millions of people from different cultures. We have a huge problem with Islamic radical jihadis, and I speak about it. Because of that, I felt I expected to be targeted by Islamic gangs, but I felt the full weight of the British establishment trying to silence me, mainly because of the embarrassment that the crimes that are imported into our country, for example, the sexual exploitation and the rape of a generation of our daughters at the hands of predominantly Muslim gangs. I speak about these issues that I have faced. In the British government give out Osman warnings. An Osman warning is an official warning to say that they have intelligence that people are planning to murder you. There are 6 Muslims in prison in the UK. They were caught with guns, bombs, swords, IEDs, suicide notes. Their target, they were on the way to murder me. Now, so I face the real threat. My wife has received Osman warnings by our government saying that there is intelligence there are going to be acid attacks against her face. My mother, my family, I've been the target of beatings multiple times, but that is not essentially what I need to run from. I've had that for years. People want to kill me. I now am terrified. The British state are about to imprison me tomorrow for the conviction of journalism, exercising your First Amendment right. I'm about to be sent to prison. Now, I've been in prison before. I was in prison first last May for reporting on one of these gangs of 30 Muslim men, Pakistani men. And the reality is that our government wish to hide all of these crimes. Just so you understand some of the statistics, and your viewers do. In the UK, convictions for street gang grooming, they call it grooming, that means the torture, prostitution and rape of young children. 90% of convictions are Muslim men. Muslims only make up 5% of our country, yet they are responsible for 90% of the convictions. Now, what we currently see, these court cases, this offence and these gangs were hidden. 10 years ago, I lifted the lid, I come out in the public, and we started screaming from the rooftops, protect our daughters, protect our sisters, protect our children. And because of that, the embarrassment that causes, and only now after a government report, the government done a report in 2012. And in that report, it revealed all of these horrors. It revealed that in one small town called Rotherham, there were 1,400 child victims. In that small town, 20% of the Muslim men are under investigation for this crime. This is the reality. And because I speak about this and I brought it to the forefront and they could no longer hide it, you have to understand there has been a conspiracy of silence by political leaders, police leaders and religious leaders to hide for 20 to 30 years.
Tommy, let me jump in here for a second. Let me jump in. Have any members of the political elites or the upper echelon of the police forces had any of their daughters subject to this, or is this just the common British citizen?
No. So in the UK class system, all the politicians are from middle class and upper class. The people who are affected by the open border policy and the crimes that are welcomed in, the people who are affected are us, the poorest people in the UK, the people from the working class background. And then when our communities are affected, when we speak about these cultural problems, when we speak about this hostility towards us, this attack on our community, when we speak about it, they then use the media globalist attack dogs of the media to call us racist, far-right extremists. And it was only when this report came out that all of a sudden the British public, I've been crying about this, literally crying and screaming about it on the streets for over a decade. Then people realised what we're saying was the truth. Now the British public are aware. Now prosecutions are being brought. But what the British government do now is they put reporting restrictions on any of these cases that involve these Muslim gangs. So there are currently cases going on across Britain in courts where no one is allowed to talk about them. If you talk about them, this is what I'm facing prison for tomorrow. I'm facing prison for journalism. I didn't actually break their reporting restriction. Everything I gave was in the public domain, the information. I literally just stood outside court as these gangs were entering court, because they're all on bail. They're not being in prison. This specific gang I'm being imprisoned for was 27 men, 2 women, all Pakistani Muslims, 30% of them called Mohammed. They have prostituted and gang raped young children, 16 victim statements from children, and they were on bail for 2 years. One of these men has fled the country. He's now in Pakistan. I stood outside court. As the men come towards court, I asked them very politely, how are you feeling about your verdict? I was arrested outside the courtroom. I was put before a judge. I was refused legal representation. This has all come out as evidential because I was released from prison. I was not even asked to plead guilty or not guilty. I was not told what I'd done, and I was instantly sentenced to 13 months in prison without any fair process, without any trial. 30 months in prison. Because of that, I know your media company, and I'm grateful to every single one of you that played a part in highlighting the fact that I'd been kidnapped off the streets of the UK. And not just kidnapped, I was then held on solitary confinement for nearly 3 months. They moved me from the safety of one prison. They moved me to the biggest Muslim population prison in the country. I was then held on solitary confinement, they said, for my own safety. I lost 40 pounds in weight. And then a mass campaign there was a campaign called Free Tommy across the globe. Some of your congressmen, the Republican Party, played a key part in speaking out for my freedom. I know even Donald Trump's son retweeted and spoke about, you don't want this coming to America. And trust me, what will happen, your rights, your freedoms will slowly be chipped away, chipped away, chipped away. And whilst they take your rights and your freedoms, the globalist corporate media, the CNNs of this world, will celebrate it. And then you'll have the equivalent of our Labour Party, which is your Democrat Party, will also call for more infringements of your rights, more taking away of your speech, more arresting for thoughts. And that's what we face. And tomorrow, I will be sent to prison for the crime of journalism. And not even on the laws that they're trying to prosecute me under. And this is why I made a direct appeal to the Donald Trump administration, to Donald Trump, to the American public, to all of you, to any lawyers out there. Look at my case. You will see, and I guarantee you will see a complete corruption from the highest level of my land, from the highest judges in my land. I have not broke the law. This is the only crime through the back door. I've been prosecuted by the Attorney General, my government. This is a politically motivated crime. And so your viewers understand, I've gone from a working class, poor background, street movement, where I've been raising problems and bringing them to the forefront of the British public that simply the establishment don't want anyone to know. They have this vision of this utopia multicultural love nest, which they're trying to create. And when there's problems in that multicultural love nest that they're importing, they don't want us to tell people. They don't want the reality of what your open border policy does to the people in our country, the reality of how our daughters are living, the fear that we're living with. They don't want anyone knowing those effects. So I went from street protests to then becoming the most watched journalist in Britain. I had 69 million people watch my videos in 4 weeks. 172 million people read my tweets in 4 weeks. And the reason for that being, I was the only journalist telling the truth. Most of our journalists are all part of the fake news media, which will slaughter and attack and demonise anyone and drag out anyone who speaks about these issues. Many of the organisations, I have organisations who are funded, specifically have their funding coming from George Soros and gentlemen like that in your country, specifically funding them to attack, destroy my character. And because of all of this, I faced the onslaught of the British government, which, as I said, I was ready for jihadi gangs. I've been ready for beatings from Muslim gangs and terrorists. I wasn't ready for the country I love to turn and hate me or the people in charge of it. And now I genuinely, hand on heart, I believe I will be killed in this prison sentence.